Hear ye, hear ye. All persons having anything to do before the Honorable Robert C. Rufo, Justice of the Superior Court, now sitting in Plymouth, within and for the Commonwealth, draw near. Give your attendance, you shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This court is now in session. Please be seated.
Good morning, everyone. My name is David Reservitz, and I have the pleasure of speaking to you as the past president of the Plymouth County Bar Association. Our president, Barbara Nason, is also present, and we have a very distinguished board that has, over the past several months, chaired by Judge Chin, organized the 150th anniversary of the Superior Court. And we're very proud and we're very excited about the agenda that we have scheduled for you today. We're going to start with an introduction by Superior Court Judge Rufo, who will speak to you about our celebration today, the particular anniversary of today, and also a little bit about our Law Day celebration. Law Day is celebrated every May of each year, and he will talk to you about this year's Law Day celebration. Following this introduction, you're going to be escorted down the hall, and please look for members of our board, people with name tags. They'll show you to the jury pool room, where we'll go into the second part of our agenda today, which will involve either a movie or a tour of the facility. And then we can speak to you more about the rest of today's agenda. So I'd like to welcome all of you. We're very happy that you're here, and I'd like to introduce Judge Rufo.
Good morning. Welcome to the Plymouth County Superior Court. Thank you for the introduction, Attorney Reservitz. Let me start off by just welcoming all the students and faculty here to the court. This building has only been open less than 2 years, and it replaced the old Plymouth County Superior Court downtown on Court Street. I don't know if any of you have ever been there. It was a lovely old building. It's still there. But its usefulness in terms of access for the public and jurors and court personnel was very limited. So the trial court decided to coordinate all of the 5 trial court departments that are represented in this building and have us all housed in one building known as the trial court. And here we have the Superior Court, District Court, Juvenile Court, the Housing Court, and the Probate and Family Court. And across the street is the Registry of Deeds, where folks record their various transactions for home buying and things of that nature. Let me start off by introducing the chair of the Plymouth County Sesquicentennial Committee, because this is our 150th anniversary of the Superior Court here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Judge Richard Chin. Judge Chin, please stand up and say hello. Good morning. Judge Chin is senior justice to me, because it goes like this: Chin, Troy, and then me. Although I think Judge Troy even has seniority on Judge Chin. And the next person I want to introduce and recognize is Judge Paul Troy, who regularly sat here in Plymouth until I came along. But he's an associate justice of the Superior Court, and I'm honored to have him here in Portland with me as well. Judge Troy, say hello. And all the members of the Sesquicentennial Committee who have worked so hard today to put through an agenda, which Attorney Reservitz is going to describe to you later on. We're going to have the benefit of viewing a mock trial, having a tour of this wonderful facility, seeing some of the technological advances that we in the court system have made from that old facility. It wasn't bad. Just because it's old, it doesn't mean it was bad. But we have made a transformation here in terms of the access and the attorneys who regularly appear before the court having the ability to have at least nice surroundings and the ability to use some technology through the course of their presentations here with flat screen TVs and audio visual and other things that we do use during the course of trials that we have here in Plymouth County. So what's this all about? Well, Law Day was really started way back when Dwight Eisenhower was president. Anybody remember Dwight Eisenhower? Mama Carmelita, yes. Nancy Cadero. Well, Dwight Eisenhower was president, and he endorsed an idea by the American Bar Association to recognize one day a year, and it's May 1st, although the month of May is certainly open for celebrations like this, to think and pause and reflect on the importance and meaning of Law Day, which is really a celebration of our court system and people who are engaged in the practice of law, seeking justice for their clients on both the civil and criminal side of the court. Now, in this courtroom, we sit civil, and sometimes we sit criminal as well. We have a wonderful lockup. Richie, why don't you show them the lockup as well? And this is something that's near and dear to my heart, because prior to becoming a judge, I used to see lockups fairly regularly. Is that a fair statement, Judge Troy and Judge Quinn? Yes. And you can see here as well that to ensure security, we have our own little dock, it's called, where individuals come into the court who may be in custody, and they may have a problem with respect to honoring authority, so they're kept in that area. But of course, they can come out and sit here under the watchful eye of the court officers with respect to what they are here for. And oftentimes they're here to challenge, if you will, a sentence. Sometimes we bring people in what's called a writ of habeas corpus, where they have filed an application to the court saying, I'm being held against my will illegally. So those folks are brought in by the Department of Corrections or the Sheriff's Office in custody, and the court officers receive them downstairs. And you'll see downstairs, it's like a little mini jail. And they are kept and housed in this facility during the course of the morning until their case is called and they're brought upstairs. Likewise, in the district court department, which regularly sits criminal every day, individuals come into the court. The district court is the point of entry for all individuals who come into our court system. And the district court judges who regularly sit here with me process their cases, and sometimes those cases are of such a serious nature that the cases are then sent upstairs, if you will, and then they go see Judge Chan and Judge Troy on the criminal side of the court up in Brockton, because we don't hold regular criminal trials here in this building, at least not as of yet. Law Day has a special significance to me, because obviously as a lawyer and as someone who's engaged in the practice of law and intersected with the criminal justice system in my prior occupation, it's important that we take a moment and recognize what we do and what we're about, and also a time to think and reflect about what this all means in terms of the greater scheme of things. This year is especially important because, as I mentioned, we're celebrating the 150th anniversary of our court, the Superior Court. And our Chief Justice, Chief Justice Barbara Rouse, who will be here later this afternoon, I think at 3 o'clock, right? We're going to have a little symposium this afternoon, and members of the bar, Plymouth County Bar, will be here, and we'll have some additional talks, although I think you're going home after lunch at 1 o'clock. And Chief Justice Rouse has asked all of us in the court to take time away from what we normally do, which is hopefully decide cases and write opinions, and take time to pause and reflect and engage in this kind of outreach to students and to adults to let you know really what we do in the Superior Court, because the Superior Court has the widest jurisdiction of all of the trial courts in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We hear, as I just mentioned, the serious cases involving criminal acts of violence, all the way up to and including murder. We hear the civil cases that are usually wheeling and carts farming, where the damages, the threshold of damages is $25,000 and greater. We also have responsibility to review sometimes our decisions of bail that are rendered by district court judges, and then we have that appellate right, if you will, to determine whether or not the bail that was set on an individual was appropriate, and things of that nature. So we're not better than any other trial court, we just have wider jurisdiction. So as a result, the serious cases that involve a lot of effort by myself and the clerk, and you see here in the clerk, we have Adam Bailey. Stand up, Adam, and say hello. Adam Bailey is the assistant clerk magistrate here, just to sort of orient you to the courtroom. Obviously, we have the court officers here, and when court is called, Adam takes his position here. I'm up there, obviously. The witness box is right here to my right. The court reporter sits here, and every word is transcribed by a court reporter. Men and women who work very hard to take down the transcripts of the proceedings that appear before me. Plaintiff's counsel, defense counsel, and when they address the court, they come in here in this podium, and we have, microphones that work. And the facility is really conducive to having us try cases on a regular basis here in the Superior Court. So I was kind of happy when Judge Chin called me a few weeks ago and said, would you at least kick this off and say hello to you, because I didn't have to work today. I was able to cancel today's proceeding and just come in and talk to you and take a moment as well to reflect on what we're doing. This year, the American Bar Association set a theme for Law Day, and that's what they do. And I spoke with Attorney Resovitz a few weeks ago, and he was kind enough to send me the Law Day theme, which is the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln. So I did some homework, and I got a book about the words and works of Abraham Lincoln, and I did a little thought process about it, because I thought it was appropriate, because Abraham Lincoln was not only a great orator and a lawyer, but of course he was the President of the United States, at a very tumultuous time in our country, sort of like where we are today, where the country was at war with each other, of course the Great Civil War. And Abraham Lincoln, in terms of his words and deeds, was really a fitting idea by the American Bar Association to, if you will, establish this as the theme of Law Day, because it's the bicentennial, celebrating Lincoln's bicentennial. So we have sesquicentennial, which is 150, and of course bicentennial is 200 years. And as we celebrate the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and this year in 2009, the theme of Law Day is what the ABA called a legacy of liberty. A legacy of liberty. So Lincoln, of course, was regarded as one of our greatest and most significant presidents, and many people don't reflect on the special significance as him being one of our greatest lawyer presidents, because not every president was a lawyer. We happen to have one right now, but not every president is a lawyer. And Lincoln's background as a lawyer greatly influenced his actions as president, and his oratory capabilities were just renowned. And it's evident, of course, in the numerous letters and speeches that he gave during the famous Lincoln-Douglas debates. You all know about this, right? 1859. Who's the history major here? Anybody? Who gets an A in history? Maybe some of the teachers know. You did? All right. So we have the Lincoln-Douglas debates. And those words and phrases that he used during those debates, and of course later at Gettysburg, which we're going to mention in a few moments, have endured through the course of time and have served as a wonderful inspiration for various movements that have taken place since Lincoln. For example, a woman's right to vote. It was unheard of back then, and we have a famous statue down in Bonneville of this woman, Mercy Otis Warren, who was the sister of James Otis, one of the famous American patriots, who railed against the British Crown because the British were kicking the doors in of the colonists in Boston. You all know this from the Boston Massacre. Did anybody study the Boston Massacre trial? Sure. And the British soldiers were breaking the doors down, looking for evidence of culpability, if you will, against the British Crown, the king. And the colonists were sort of fed up with this, and they said, enough's enough. And James Otis was one of those American patriots who said, hey, sure, enough's enough, because we have the idea that no person should be subjected to a search and seizure of their home without some sort of process, without a due process. And that was sort of the beginning of all this. But guess who was behind all this? His sister, Mercy Otis Warren, who actually penned many of James Otis's speeches that he gave, because women weren't allowed to speak in those days, and let alone the right to vote. But she was educated by the minister of her church, and she actually wrote many of the speeches that led to the formation of the American Constitution. But there I digress. Now, Lincoln's legacy as an American president who united a nation and fought for justice is legendary. And he appealed to the fundamental values of our human senses in terms of equality, justice, and liberty. And they are set forth, especially in the Declaration of Independence, adhering to his own moral values. So in terms of doing some research as we celebrate Lincoln as an American president who united our nation and fought for justice, as I said, I got this book out. And I began to take a chance time to just thumb through it. And I found out that Lincoln had a sense of humor. It doesn't come across that way as we read about him. And of course, if you've ever visited Washington, D.C., and you see him sitting up there in that massive stone edifice that is a tribute to him, I can think of him as having a sense of humor. But I found this on page 438 of this book. And he was president, and this note was written in Washington, D.C. on November 11th, 1863. And what struck me about that is that November 11th, 1863 was 8 days before he gave the famous Gettysburg Address. So here's what he wrote. He's sitting in the White House, he writes this: "Dear Sir," and this is a note to the Secretary of Defense. "Dear Sir, Secretary of Defense, I personally wish Jacob Freeze, F-R-E-E-Z-E, of New Jersey to be appointed Colonel of the regiment, and this, regardless of whether he can tell the exact shade of Julius Caesar's hair. Signed, Abraham Lincoln." So he's making a suggestion to a Secretary of Defense that a certain person from New Jersey that he obviously knew. It's kind of nice to know that some politics occurred way back then as well. And here's Honest Abe suggesting to a Secretary of Defense that this gentleman, Mr. Freeze of New Jersey, be appointed the colonel of a certain regiment. I thought it was interesting. Then, of course, we have the address at the dedication of the National Cemetery at Gettysburg on November 19, 1863. The Gettysburg Address that we've all sort of taken for granted, and maybe you've read it once or twice or you studied it at school. Anybody ever read the Gettysburg Address or have it be recited in school? Do you still do that in school? I hope you do. It's really important. And it has some personal meaning and connection to me. So I'll take a little bit of time and tell you why, and then I'm going to call upon one of the committee members, Bourbon Russell, who's an aide to Congressman Barney Frank, to actually read the Gettysburg Address, because he's a decorated Vietnam veteran, and it's most fitting that he do that. But here's why the Gettysburg Address is so important to me, and I've lived with it. My uncle, who was 21 years old, serving in World War II in Germany, was killed 5 days before the war ended, on April 5th, 1945. Now, obviously, my father was distraught over the loss of his brother, who was killed 5 days before the war ended in Germany in 1945. So I come along 5 years later, so I'm old. You can tell when I was born now. I was born in 1950. And I was the firstborn of the next generation of Rufos from Brighton and Boston. And my father decided to name me exactly the same name as my uncle, who was killed in the war. And growing up, I really didn't think about it until I was about your age, because my uncle, of course, never got a chance to live out his life, but my father made all of us, and I'm the oldest of 7, memorize the Gettysburg Address, because it was so touching and fitting to him as a reminder of the sacrifices made by people who served this country, and we want to take a moment to remember them, because it just rolls off our tongue now. We see this on TV, and we hear about deaths of people, and we see the funeral ceremonies that are taking place of people who are killed in Afghanistan or Iraq or any place else around the world serving our country. But growing up, each and every Memorial Day, which is coming up very fast, May 26th this year, individuals take time to reflect, but less and less and less young people think about it, and I must say it's kind of troubling to me, because it's mandatory in my family that we go to the cemetery and the Gettysburg Address is read at the gravesite of my uncle every year. So with that as the backdrop, I should say, I'm going to call upon Mr. Russell, who's going to read the Gettysburg Address. Listen to the words of this address. They're very important.
Good morning. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who have gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hollow this ground. The brave men living and dead who struggled here have consecrated it. Far above our poor powers to add or detract, the world will little know, no long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth.
I think Lincoln would be proud to know that the words spoken here are not long forgotten, but they're read really every Memorial Day and sometimes on additional occasions like we just had here today, because we are a nation of the people, by the people, and for the people. And again, that rolls off our tongue. But represented in that is, of course, the theme that Lincoln was trying to suggest by way of the Gettysburg Address, that we're here because others have sacrificed. So I'm here because another person sacrificed, but all of us are here because we have parents, relatives, family, friends, and the like who sacrificed to make our lives better. And that's something I hope that you'll take away from today, that we're a system that embodies, if you will, the basic human instincts that we have as a nation, spurred on by those words that Abraham Lincoln gave us at the Gettysburg Address. So I thought it was appropriate that we take a moment and read it for you today. So what I'd like to do right now, because Judge Chin told me to do this, is take a few moments and ask you, because I know you've thought long and hard about this, what is it you want to know about the Superior Court? Because the Superior Court, and I have two experts right here who are going to help me if I get any tough questions, as I mentioned, has the widest jurisdiction. We sit on the criminal side of the court and the civil side of the court. And what distinguishes us from the other courts is that we sit a 12-person jury. So the jury box is right over here to my right. And we have members of the Plymouth County townships come in here each and every day in our jury pool, led by Court Officer Cadero, and she's in charge of the jury pool. Stand up, Court Officer Cadero, in charge of the jury pool. There she is. And Nancy Cadero has the obligation to greet Plymouth County citizens, and they're so pleased to be here. They have to come at the ungodly hour of 8 o'clock in the morning and be checked in by Nancy, who's always in a good mood, and she is. And then one of us takes a moment and we go down and greet the jury and we tell them how wonderful it is for them to take time from their busy schedule and come into the court system and help us resolve cases on both the civil and criminal side of the court. Sometimes folks aren't that happy about that. But this is a system that's been going on since the Pilgrims allegedly landed down the street at that rock, because our forefathers and foremothers and foresisters brought with them a sense of justice that is meted out not just by judges, men and women who regularly sit and decide cases, but it's decided by individuals who come from the communities at large, who come together and speak as one voice, the conscience of the community, and they decide the outcome of cases every day of the week, because they decide whether or not there's sufficient proof, evidence from inside of this courtroom that warrants either a conviction on that high standard of proof beyond reasonable doubt, or on the civil side of the court, where we have a different standard of proof called the preponderance of the evidence. You all know this, right, from civics? Who took civics? Nobody took civics? I'm sure you know about this, right? So we have a system now of justice where individuals come into the court, they seek justice through their attorneys. Sometimes they represent themselves too. But we have individuals take a seat right over there, and they listen to the evidence and watch everything that's going on, and we hand them documents and things, and then I sit up there and instruct them on the law that applies to the particular case. They go in the back of the jury deliberation room, which you'll see, overlooking the Plymouth County agricultural farm, and they sit and they decide the outcome of cases. It's kind of unique, and it's something that goes on each and every day in all the courts. There are 20 Superior Courts throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. There are 82 Superior Court judges. I'm just one of them. And kind of fun too, tomorrow, we're all gonna get together in Boston for one-day training. And we see each other. I don't see Judge Chin and Judge Choi as often as I'd like, but we get together in Boston and we go into a big conference room and we talk about the law and we try to refresh ourselves. And it's an ever-educating process, if you will. It's a never-ending process to try to figure out what's the latest law from our Supreme Court and from the Supreme Court of the United States to the Supreme Judicial Court to the Appeals Court and the like. So that is, in a nutshell, very quickly, is what we do each and every day of the week here. So who's got some tough questions for me and for Judge Chin and Judge Troy about what's going on here in the Superior Court? Yes, sir.
You talked in your speech about the trial by jury. In a lot of cases I know in the modern world are decided by a judge, a bench trial. What do you see as the differences between a bench trial and a trial where the jury is the finder of fact? And which do you think produces a more just outcome?
Here's a future lawyer. 20 minutes at 10 in the morning, he's got the whole system down. Let me see if I can handle that question. That's an excellent question. And this young man is known to me because he's actually come in and observed court. I've seen him before.
Oh yeah, I work in the summer at WATD and I have.
Right. And I don't need to suggest that you're anything but a very interested student, and I appreciate the question. So it's nice to see you again. One of the things that we have in our Constitution is the right to a trial by jury on both the civil and criminal side of the court. It's a sacred right. But sometimes cases, the nature of a particular case, is one where the lawyer and the client decide, because they have this right too. They have the right to waive the jury, meaning, gee, I'm not going to take a shot with these folks from Plymouth County. They're going to come in. No offense to them. No offense whatsoever. But the nature of the case is really a pure legal question. And the facts are important, for sure, but the law is so intricate and so detailed that I'd rather have a judge decide, if you will, the application of the law to the facts. So in that instance, in those cases, and it requires a lot of work, by the way, on behalf of the judge, and I'll explain that in a minute. In those situations, individuals who appear before the court have the right as well to waive the jury, as this gentleman suggested. What's your first name?
Brian.
Brian. So Brian has a right because sometimes the parties decide that, gee, I'm going to let the judge decide this one, he or she. And by doing that, there is no jury. The lawyers take their normal positions. The witness still takes the witness box. And I have to sit there and take down as much as I can by way of notes, more than I would take during a jury trial. Because why? I am going to be the finder of fact. In a jury weight case, I find the facts. In a non-jury case, the jury finds the facts. My role is to shepherd, if you will, the evidence that the jury sees and hears. We're the so-called gatekeepers of the evidence, but the jury decides the facts, not the judge. All the judge does, all we do, is we instruct them on the law that applies to the various claims that the plaintiff, the moving party in a civil case is called a plaintiff, right? That the individual seeking justice on the civil side of the court has put before the court. So we describe the law. And then the jury says, okay, now I know what the law is because the judge told me so eloquently in these jury instructions that we rattle off with all this foreign language. Even sometimes we even use Latin phrases. There's a theory in contracts law. I remember my first year in law school in 1975. Quantum meruit. What? Quantum meruit. Quantum meruit's Latin for as much as is deserved. And there's a theory in contract law where somebody who's seeking reparations under contract damages who didn't have a contract can still get damages because of this theory of unjust enrichment, Brian, right? You know all about this, right?
I do not.
Okay. You will, because you're going to law school. So, in a jury weight case, my antenna is up tenfold more than a jury trial because I have to find the facts. I have to decide the facts of the case. Then hopefully I know the law, although I have to do legal research, And I have a computer where I can go online and get some research. And I also have a law clerk, stand up Jason Brolsman, who does all of the research for me here in Superior. And Jason is a new lawyer who works for a one-year period as an intern to the judges of the Superior Court. And he's had the privilege of working with me for the last few months, but we have a good time. But Jason helps me with the law, and then I take the law, I take the facts as I find them, and I have to write a decision justifying it. Why do I have to write a decision justifying my outcome, whether I find for the plaintiff or against the plaintiff? Why, Brian?
For the appeals, I believe?
Yeah, see, he's going to be a lawyer. Because I'm not infallible. The individuals have the right to appeal. It goes right to the appeals court. And each and every day, all of us are guilty of this. I think Judge Troy and Judge Chin are guilty of this. I'm going to put them on the spot. Every day we get these little email alerts from the appeals court and the Supreme Judicial Court. I can't reach that out. Judge Troy is taller than I am, so he can reach high. And we find out if some of our decisions have been affirmed, or what else, Brian?
Overturned?
Overturned or reversed, yeah. So, not that we take it personal, but we want to get it right. We want to make the right call. So the pressure's on me to make the right call, not that the jury doesn't. And sometimes the judge has the power to take away what the jury does. I won't get into that. But the difference, to answer your question directly, is that it requires super sensitivity on the part of the judge to find the facts, to apply the law, to get it right, to write a decision that can withstand appellate scrutiny, because it's all on us. It's the whole ball of wax. It's the whole enchilada, as they say in Taco Bell. So hopefully that answers your question. Who else has a question? Yes, sir.
When overseeing a case, you are a judge, but that
I think I'm a judge. They tell me.
exactly, but that means you are still human, so it can't be like devoid of all feeling. So is it hard to get emotionally, to not get emotionally involved in a case when making a decision or determining facts between how you feel? Because obviously there are many cases that I'm sure come through here where they can be sad, they can be whatever, and they can be very emotional. So is it hard to make a decision based on fact or emotion?
Another tough question. We wrestle with this every day, and I've talked to my colleagues about this a lot. And we get together, as I said, only twice a year, and all of us have, obviously bring our own background, our experiences of life, our upbringing, our values, religious beliefs, ethical beliefs, all of that comes with us. And that's part of the screening process when you become a judge. You have to go through this sort of transformation, because we're all taught to think like lawyers and take a position based on the law. But as a judge, we have to be impartial. Integrity is so important. Fair and impartial. Devoid of any of our personal thoughts or beliefs. So I cannot, I have to talk to myself. I talk to myself. I talk to myself in the car, I talk to myself in the lobby. Nancy sometimes comes up and says, "You're talking to yourself." I say, "Yes, I am." But it's a way in which you take a self-check. You have to do your own daily self-check to be sure that not only are you going to get it right, but you're not going to let any personal beliefs, personal feelings, or influences affect the outcome of your decision. Now, I live on the Cape. I live in Harwich, and I come up every day from Harwich, and I enjoy where I live, but I also enjoy coming here every day. I sit here about 6 months of the year, because we're all on what's called a circuit system. And recently, when I was back in Barnstable, I had to decide the outcome of one of the many, many cases that are involved with the Cape Winds project. This is the wind turbines out in Nantucket Sound, which I don't live near the water because I'm a lowly public servant and don't make that much money, but I live within driving distance of the beach. And of course, I have my own personal beliefs about whether or not we should have 200 wind turbines in Nantucket Sound generating, clean air and wind power and all of that. So I can't let my personal beliefs get in the way when I'm deciding a question of law in a case like that, and that's something I have to really be careful of and be sure that I don't allow myself to go down that road. I'm going to call on Judge Troy, because he's more thoughtful than I am to answer that question for us. Judge Troy, how do we handle that? Come on down here, Judge Troy. This is fun. He's a senior judge to me. I'm getting a chance to tell him what's going on. Okay.
The only way I'm senior is I'm taller than him. It's a real problem. Judges, all of us struggle mightily trying to do the right thing. I wake at night. I wake up sometimes at 4 o'clock in the morning and I think, what's going on? the stakes of the Superior Court are so high. The cases impact people's lives forever. And sometimes their children's lives. So, Judge Ruffo's right. You really do your best. You try to divorce yourself. If you're not the only one, you recuse yourself. Like my own law firm, I do 20 cases in my own law. Sometimes there's lawyers who I'm just kind of friendly with, and I say, no, I'm not going to do it. Because the danger is I'd actually go the other way, trying to be sure that I don't rule in favor of someone. So it's a real worry. And the same for the jury waived trial. If I could say one more thing. The word verdict is derived from two Latin words, veritas and dictum, meaning to speak the truth. And this is what, when you have something so serious as a trial, where the outcome has such oftentimes devastating impact on everyone involved. The idea of a jury system is wonderful to me because the verdict, the truth, is decided by people who really don't want to be there, who are of good heart. There's nothing anyone could ever do to a juror, to you, to do something that you don't believe is the right thing. And the jury comes together from people who are agnostics, and born-again Christians, and conservatives, and liberals, and older and younger, rich and poor, all kinds of people who come together who see life in their own way, who have their own take on how people should act, what's right and what isn't, and how to judge people's credibility. And they come together and they hear the evidence together, and they speak the truth. They come back with their verdict. When a verdict comes in, it's wonderful. Everybody gets off the side. You see hundreds of verdicts come in. It's just exciting that the jury come in. And there's never a feeling with the jury that it was unfair. No. You may say, I don't know where they got that, but there's never a feeling, all those jurors just like me. So the jury system is truly wonderful. If someone asks a question about it, the judge doing it, I prefer the jury system. And if I were someone on trial, I'd want a jury. Because you know that you've got this broad range of people. They're all going to see things from their own way and have to come back with one verdict. So I guess it takes the pressure off me and judges when we have a jury. But we do make decisions all the time. And we struggle mightily with them. Sometimes they're oral and sometimes they're written, and I'll write it, rewrite it, and think about it, and we'll think about it. And just pretty best. Talk too long.
No, that's great. Thank you, Judge Joy. I really appreciate the questions. We have time for one more question, and Attorney Reservets has given me the hairy eyeball here. We got to go on with the rest of the program. Yes, sir.
Just one quick question. I'm sure either you or Judge Choi can answer this question.
Judge Choi is much smarter than I am.
Well, I know every time that a person on trial comes to the courtroom, have you developed a sense of what this trial would be like, what the trial would be like as a person walks in?
If I understand your question, do you think, am I able to look at someone and decide which way the case is going to come out before the trial begins? I'm just trying to understand your question.
Have you developed somewhat of a sense of what kind?
Are we talking on the criminal side of the court, or are we talking on the civil side of the court?
I think what he means is how the trial will transpire, which the person walking forward.
Okay. Well, not really, to tell you the truth, because I think to do that in any way, shape, or form, I don't consider myself have any sort of clairvoyance or any special acute perception because I happen to be a judge. I'm a human being, I hope I am, and there's a famous line in one of the cases that we are talking early on, it's Bell versus Wolfish, and one of the cases, it's a case involving Christmas rights, so I know about it, but the classic line written by Chief Justice Rehnquist was, judges, after all, are human. Great line. Judges, after all, are human. And what Rehnquist meant when he wrote that is that we don't have any special powers. We don't have any answers to tough questions that are better than anybody else's. But we're clothed with the robe of authority to make the call based upon the evidence and nothing but the evidence submitted to us in court in the application of the law. So for me to sort of, in a way, prejudge how a case is going to come down or how it's going to play out would be improper. And so I don't let myself, even go down that road. I don't let my mind wander that way. Maybe I will now that you brought it to my attention, obviously. But the fact of the matter is that I see all kinds of folks on both the civil and criminal side of the court. And before I was put in the position I am in the Superior Court, which now is just about 5 years, I was a district court judge for 8 years in West Roxbury, Jamaica Plain, and Mattapan, and Mission Hill, and up in Boston. So I have 8 years of criminal experience in the district court, a little bit of civil. Now I do more civil than criminal, but that's just the way it worked out. And I'll do more criminal in the future. But so I have 13 years now, coming up on 14 years of experience. And it doesn't make me any better because I have more time on the bench. But you develop a sense of being able to look at the case itself, not the lawyers, not the litigants, not the way in which it comes out. And oftentimes, I'm surprised by jury verdicts. So I stopped the process of, even trying to think myself which way the jury's going to go on the case, because it really does depend on what they see, what they perceive the evidence to be, and the outcome of the case, as Judge Joyce said, is wonderfully decided by people who really never met before. They come together as total strangers. Oftentimes, we do see people who know each other in a jury, because we're a small community. But for the most part, it's really unique. Think about it this way. 12 people, never met before, they come and they speak as one voice. Unanimously on the criminal side of the court, close to unanimous on the civil side of the court. These are all great questions. It really is a tribute to you and your teachers and your parents for the fact that you're so astute about what's going on. We're pleased to hear that. So think about a career. We'll all be around for the rest of the day. Myself, Judge Troy, Judge Trent, Judge Chen, excuse me. Please walk up to us if you have questions you want to talk about, what your interests are as you move on with your high school education and college. I'll be happy to talk to you about it. And I enjoyed this time that I had with you this morning. Kenny Reservis is going to give you the time now for the rest of the program.
Thank you very much, Judge Rufo. Thank you, Judge Troy. Thank you, Mr. Russell, for that wonderful reading of the Gettysburg Address. Again, my name is David Reservitz. I'm a lawyer in Plymouth County. The board that helped put this together is made up of mostly lawyers, people that work in the legal system, judges. I neglected to introduce a very important member of that board who was influential in planning today's events. We have two bar associations in Plymouth County. We have a county bar, we have a district bar. The president of the district bar is Marshall Johnson. Marshall, can you come out here with me? Because Marshall really, more than myself, was involved in putting together the events of today. And what we're going to do now, folks, is Marshall's going to lead you down to the jury pool room at the other end of the corridor here.
Courtroom E.
Courtroom E, is it?
For the mock trial.
Right, and we're going to start the next part of our agenda there. So if, in about a minute, if you'd follow Marshall.
People involved in the mock trial, the teams, anybody that wants to watch it, should, after we recess here, go all the way down to the end of this hallway, courtroom E on the far left side. We'll probably get started about 10 or 15 minutes from now, and other parts of the program will take place at other parts of the courthouse. Anybody that wants to take a tour or watch the video of a motion to suppress will be in the jury pool room, which is directly below courtroom E on the second floor. So those are the two things that I have to say.
So I'll take the group down to the jury pool room, and Marshall, you can
I'll
read
take
the
the
group.
mock trial.
So in about 2 minutes, we'll meet you out there in the hallway. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh. Right, fix.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. All persons having anything to do before the Honorable Barbara J. Rouse, Chief Justice, and the Justices of the Superior Court, Judge Richard J. Chin presiding, now sitting at Plymouth, within and for the Commonwealth, for the purpose of naturalization. Draw near, give your attendance, and you shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This court is now in session. Please be seated.
Well, now that you've seated yourselves, if you could please rise and join Linda Santos in the singing of the national anthem.
Please, Ann.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ready, two, order, arms.
Thank you, Linda. My name is Margaret Ishihara. I'm a member of the Planning Committee for this Law Day, and I'd like to welcome all of you citizen candidates and soon-to-be new citizens to the court. And I'd also like, it's my privilege to introduce the Honorable Barbara J. Rouse. She is the Chief Administrative Justice of the Massachusetts Superior Court, and she will have some welcoming remarks for you.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. I am very, very pleased to be here today. And when I look out and see all of you who represent such great diversity, that it is just a great privilege for us in the Superior Court to host this immigration ceremony today. For those of you who may not be familiar with the court, the Superior Court of Massachusetts is the primary trial court for the Commonwealth, and that means that we try both criminal cases and civil cases, and we have jurisdiction, that is, we hear cases all throughout the Commonwealth, Plymouth County and all of the other 13 counties. One of the happiest things that we do as a court is to welcome new citizens into both the duties and responsibilities of United States citizens. Our country was built on the hard work and dreams of immigrants, and it has really made our country incredibly strong and durable and as great as it is today. And all of you represent additional resources who will come in and continue in the great tradition of all those of us who went before. And I am just myself a third-generation American, my grandparents having come from various countries. So I welcome you here today on behalf of the Superior Court, which is also celebrating this year its 150th year of existence. And we are also enjoying the celebration, the commemoration of this historic milestone, and trying to remember what it is that has made the Superior Court and all the trial courts of this Commonwealth so great. And that, I think, in essence, is the fact that we have developed and adhered to the rule of law. Our cases are decided on the basis of law, which applies to all of our citizens equally. And that really is the enduring principle of our court and all the other courts in the Commonwealth. So thank you very much for being part of this great day. I also want to thank and show appreciation to the family members and the friends who supported the citizen candidates in their long journey to this day. And we welcome you, and we enjoy with you and celebrate with you as you take the oath. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief Justice Rouse. We will now have the presentation of the motions by Marilla Tiberi from the United States CIS.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marilla Tiberi, and I'm pleased to represent the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services within the Department of Homeland Security at these proceedings today. Your Honor, there is one applicant for naturalization present who wishes to change his name as part of the naturalization process. The government has investigated the reason for the change and interposes no objections. I respectfully move that you allow the name change.
It's with great pleasure that I allow your motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, there are 19 applicants for naturalization present today. Each applicant has been duly examined under the provisions of the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1952, as amended, and each has been found well qualified for United States citizenship. At this time, I respectfully move that you request the clerk of the court to administer the oath of allegiance to all 19 applicants, thus bestowing upon them one of our nation's highest honors, United States citizenship.
Your motion is allowed. Mr. Clerk, if you will administer the oath at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge. I'd ask those to please stand.
Four times.
Oath of allegiance. I hereby declare, please repeat after me,
I hereby declare
on oath, that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty, of whom or which I have herefore been a subject or citizen, that I will support and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by law, that I will perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States when required by law, that I will perform work of national importance under civil direction when required by law, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, so help me God.
Please be seated.
Order.
like to introduce Justice Richard Chin, who will make some remarks to you before the presentation of the certificates.
New citizens and family members, I want to congratulate all of you today on becoming citizens. This is a great day of celebration for you and your families, but this is also a day of celebration for our community. That's why we have so many dignitaries here to welcome you. I'm very proud to preside over this ceremony. I'm proud because I'm the son of Chinese immigrants. I'm proud because I sat out there as a young boy where you are, and I watched my parents naturalized in the Brockton Superior Court. I'm proud of this country and the fact that people still want to come to this country and become citizens. I'm proud of your courage and determination that you had to leave your homeland and to come to this country to make a new home. I'm also proud of that you all went through the process to become citizens. Now that you are American citizens, you shouldn't forget your heritage. I'm very proud of my Chinese heritage. I've tried to teach my children about our history and Chinese culture. You should teach your children about your heritage, your culture, so that they don't forget it. This country is a country of diverse cultures, but it's what makes us strong, and we should all celebrate diversity. Now that you are American citizens, you have the opportunity to pursue the American dream. My mother and father came to this country from China many years ago. They came here looking for opportunity and for freedom. They taught my sister and me the value of hard work and education. My parents settled in the city of Brockton. They ran a laundry in Brockton for over 50 years. And through their hard work, my sister and I were able to get an education. They put my sister and me through both college and law school. My sister is a lawyer practicing immigration law in Boston. If you work hard and follow your dreams, I look forward to the day when your children are sitting up here as judges and as public officials. Now that you are citizens, you also have obligations as citizens. We are all able to participate in our government. You can participate by voting and electing public officials. You also participate by coming to court and serving on a jury. So again, I want to congratulate all of you for becoming citizens today, and we're going to present the certificates now. Again, congratulations. I've done a lot of these ceremonies, and this is the first one where you're going to have your certificate presented by the Chief Justice of the Superior Court.
All right.
John Joyce.
I'd like to congratulate you all, new citizens. Congratulations. And now that you are new citizens, we're going to get you involved in the democratic process right away. You will be hearing first from Plymouth County Commissioner John Reardon. The county commissioners are charged with the responsibility of all the people and property of Plymouth County, and he has a few remarks for you this afternoon.
Thank you. You know, I always envisioned America is a great ship, USS America, sailing the oceans and the seven seas. And it's a model of democracy for all the world to see. The stewards of that ship, people that run that ship, are the citizens of America. You people today are now stewards of that ship. You will have a part in running this great ship, the USS America. And I want to say to you that there's an old saying in the Navy: you have walked up the gangway and you've approached the deck, the officer of the deck, and we are all officers of the deck, all us American citizens, and we say to you, welcome aboard, welcome my fellow Americans, welcome to America, and we welcome your citizenship. I just want to share with you, every family, everyone here has some story in their background about immigration and their family coming to America. In my family, back, my parents, on my father's side, they settled in Brockton. And my grandparents on my father's side, they were married when they came from Ireland. And in my family, there's a saying that you missed the boat. Usually, when somebody uses that expression, it means a lost opportunity. You missed something, you missed the boat. But in my family, it's a good luck charm. And let me tell you why. We've all heard of the Titanic. My grandparents were pregnant, my grandmother was pregnant at the time with my aunt. And because of the pregnancy, they did not sail on the Titanic. They had tickets to come to America on the Titanic. So when they say you missed the boat, they missed the Titanic. It's a good thing in my family, that expression. Now, I think it's only appropriate just a few more remarks. This is the 150th anniversary of the Superior Court system. And I, as a lawyer, come into these courts, and I think a lot of people do, and first thing you see is you see the bench and you see the American flag. And that's so important that you look at that flag and you realize no matter who you are, where you come from, what your skin color is, what your religion is, you're going to be treated fairly. And there's probably very few places in the world that happens. But it happens in America. And now you are part of that process, and you can hold your head high, and you know that there really is justice in America. I could go on a little more. We have to my left here the district attorney, and I'm sure he has a few comments also. But one last time, I want to say welcome aboard to America. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reardon. As Mr. Reardon indicated, we'll hear from Timothy Cruz. Mr. Cruz is the district attorney for Plymouth County. So he's I guess the best way to put it, he's the head law enforcement officer for Plymouth County. But he's here with you on this happy occasion to give you a few remarks. And also, I just want to, I'm going to put a little plug in here as well. No matter which way you decide to vote, make sure, now you're new citizens, register to vote.
Thank you, Margaret. My name is Tim Cruz, and I am the DA here in Plymouth County. I also just want to congratulate everybody, really, on the process that you've gone through. I know you've all worked really hard to really get to this goal, and it really is an important goal. And now, like Judge Chin said and some of the other speakers said, now is your opportunity to take advantage of that, to come here and fully assimilate into the country, to make sure that you vote, that you get involved in your local community, much like a lot of the people that are here today, whether it be the judges, and we have a number of judges here today, and attorneys that have come down here, because it's important. It's important to bring new people in. You know, in my job as district attorney, as the chief law enforcement official in the county, it's important for me to make sure that people are safe and that they're secure in our county. And I, much like everybody else, have a story too. a story of my grandparents came from Portugal. And they lived in a little town called Villanova de Gaia over in Porto, and they came over here, and they came to Brockton. And my grandparents worked in the shoe factories in Brockton some 80 years ago. And I remember going to their home and listening to them as they worked here, as they assimilated themselves here into the country. My dad grew up a blue-collar guy, plumber, and to his credit, he continued on. He got his education, had a few of us cruises, had a few of us kids. And I have a brother that's a radiologist now, a very smart guy, and I'm fortunate enough to serve in my county where I live, where I grew up, here in Plymouth County, as the district attorney. And it really is such an opportunity that you really can reach for whatever you want to be. I really believe that. The power of one person is incredible. And you have opportunities now, because of the work that you have done as United States citizens, you can come here and you can also grab that ring. You can make a difference in your family's lives. And this was a great first step. I'm so happy to be here today on this special occasion, the 150th anniversary of the Superior Courts, and congratulating you on a job well done. And I know that we'll be hearing from you again as you continue to do this great work to make our country better. And that's what it is, it's our country. Congratulations, and thanks for listening to me today.
When we planned this ceremony, one idea we had was we wanted to not just talk to you about the American dream, but we wanted to bring somebody back before you that was naturalized in the Superior Court and has realized that dream. First person that came to mind was Christo Saganas of Brockton. He was naturalized in the Brockton Superior Court in 1957. He went on to establish Christo's Restaurant in Brockton, very successful business. You probably all know him as the Greek Salad King. We didn't invite him here just because he's a successful businessman. We brought him in because he became a very active member of our community. He not only had success in business, he became a philanthropist. He's been very generous to the people in our community. But he not only gave of his money, he also gave his time. He served his community by sitting on many boards and charities, and he's really a great example of the American, realizing the American dream, and someone that's come to this country and has become a member of the community and has made our community better. I want to introduce good friend Christos Saganas. Chris.
Thank you. I don't know what I'm doing here because you got a lot of judges and a lot of lawyers. I'm not a lawyer. Sometimes in my business, if somebody don't show up to wash dishes, I have to wash dishes, or I have to clean the bathrooms. I came into this country back in 1955. When I left Greece, I was educated. I was an officer in the Greek army, and I couldn't find a job. Certain things opened up, and my first book was about Canada. I went to Canada, we were invited by so many people and so forth, but it took us 27 days to go. And when we get to Halifax, the lady who spoke English and French says, well, from whoever you invited, those invitations is no good. You gotta go and find a job. We got 2 jobs. One of them, you gotta go and work on Canadian National Railways or Canadian Pacific. And the third thing is, first stop is Montreal, Canada, then you have to look for your own job. I don't speak English, I don't speak French. The only thing I speak is Greek. Sometimes I'm not that good. But anyway, I get a guaranteed job and I go and work at the Canadian National Railways for 50 cents an hour. And we about 200 miles northwest of Toronto in a town they call it Sudbury, Ontario. and we used to sleep on the cars. Get up in the morning, work 60 hours a week, and the first time I get my check was $48. And I don't see my father when I left, because I get my passport on a Thursday night at 10 o'clock, and the boat was leaving at 9 o'clock, and no way I'm going to lose that boat. So I put $20 in my pocket. I borrowed from an uncle where I used to work, was a cashier in a pastry shop, and I get the boat. And I work on railroad tracks. So the first check I get for $47, $48, I send $10 to my father and mother to tell them I'm okay. Anyway, I wash dishes. I was a doorman in Canada for $20 a week, wash dishes for $23 a week for 66 hours. And even we have to eat in a day's old bread in those days. But anyway, I come in here in the United States. Fortunately, I got an uncle and I met my wife, and we get married. I start with a little luncheonette. I know all those gentlemen here, and I have some of them over there. And I used to sell them 2 muffins and a cup of coffee for 25 cents. And we charge them when they take it out 2 cents for the cup to go. Now you pay $4.50 at Starbucks. And those are taste as good as our coffee. So anyway, I was downtown and everything else, and I saw the opportunities downtown for one reason or another, the population, and I want to get out on the east side of Brockton. Like I said, I come in this morning with $8 in my pocket. I stay with my mother-in-law and my wife, got 2 children, 2 daughters. I work maybe about 15 hours a day at the luncheonette. And my wife used to be there another 8 hours. And we open up the restaurant with no money. Now you want to tell me how you open it? Because 2 banks next to us, they see how hard we work, and they loan us the money with no money down. That's what this country is all about. You give all what you got, and they see you. You're not going to lie to them or anything else. They always is behind you and they help you. I open up the new restaurant now. It was only about 120 seats. Right now it's up to 400 seats. I employ 150 people. The majority of them in my kitchen is Brazilians and Cape Verdeans. The majority of them. And they're hell of a workers. Just give them enough overtime. If we make money, then we give them overtime. If we don't, we don't. But the thing is, and I always try, I got a lot of young people working for me, start as a busboy. And then you see the new generation now, they come in with their hats like that, or their hats on the back, start work. I say, hey, straighten up. Be a decent person. You're a nice looking guy, dress up. Instead of coming with a t-shirt down here, you know what I mean, and a thing up there and try to work. And you have to do a work ethics. Because the first job you have to start, if you do not have a work ethics, you're never going to succeed. You know why? Because you say, oh, what the heck with this job? I'm not be here too long. You don't care. You get fired or you walk out. The next job you got to do, you do the same thing. By the time you get the job which you like, you don't have no work ethics, and then you're never going to succeed. That's just all about it. Like I said, I come in with $8. And right now, I'm one of the top 5 restaurants in the state of Massachusetts. And like I said, even I'm an owner. I work there right now. I'm 83 years old. I got a 5 bypass. I got a valve. I got a defibrillator. Everything ticking. I still working 15 hours a day. Okay? You see? Anytime they come in, I'm always there. Why? Because my father and my mother, they teach me work ethics. He says, as long as you work, you're never going to go hungry. I come in from a little village on a farmhouse. Unfortunately, I don't go to school because I grew up during the occupation. The schools was closed, but I got two other brothers because my father believed in education. They stay there, and both of them, they retired generals. One of them from the paratroopers, and the other one from the state police. Me, I'm still washing dishes, but I don't have to. But that's the way I was taught. And it's very difficult to break up my routine, not to show up. For me to forget not to work, I have to go away somewhere for a week, and they can't get me. I don't tell them where I go, no cell phone switch. I don't know how the cell phone works anyway. Now you got kids, 7 years old, they come in at the restaurant, you tell them, can I help you? How do you call it? Text message. 8, 9 years old kids. And then you got mothers that come in with their kids. Instead to talk to them and everything else, they give them a little unit over there with cartoons. The mother eats, and the kid watches cartoons for an hour until she finishes eating. That's not the way to bring up kids, and not the way to grow up. And I hope all of you look like a nice people. This country is a country of opportunity, but you have to work and you gotta chase it. Don't expect somebody from up there to throw you something down. I tell you why. When I go up in Canada, and it was some guys, I was an officer in the Greek army, I was second lieutenant. And I always liked to dress. And my hands wasn't from people that work in construction. And they used to tell me, Mr. Lieutenant, where are you going to go? You're going to work on railroad tracks. You know, how you want to work? I said, don't worry about me. I work on a farm. When I was 8, 9, 10 years old, I got to go around up the sheep. And then get older, I got to go around a couple of horses we have. And I work hard. Says, don't worry about me. What about you? But those people, they were in Greece, and were they allowed to go to Canada, they picking up the magazines, and they see beautiful girls, they laying down in a swimming pool, and they see cars. They says, I'm going to go work on a railroad track. No, I'm going to stay here. You know something? They're still in a coffee house. They're waiting for somebody to give them a quarter or a 50 cents or $1 now to go and have a bowl of soup. Because they thought they were going to find everything ready. It's nothing easy. Nobody's going to give you anything. You have to work for them. And the people you work is a good boss. He will appreciate you. He will appreciate your work, and then you're going to go somewhere. From my boss boys, like I said, 17 years old kids. When I teach them what to do, and they say, thank you, boss, I got about 5, 6 doctors from my boss boys, and I got about another 7, 8 lawyers. So that's what you have to do. Me, I'm an immigrant like you, but I come a long time. I wish you a lot of luck and welcome you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Saganis. That was great. Thank you for your educational and entertaining, also, remarks. So, before we conclude the program with the Pledge of Allegiance, I did want to make one announcement that if any of the new citizens and their families would like to have their picture taken with some of the dignitaries, after the conclusion of the ceremony, you can just come into the this area here and we can do that. We're now going to have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Fang Chi Lee from the Literacy Program of Plymouth. And so I'd all ask that you rise and join Ms. Fang Chi Lee.
Present arms.
have the retirement of the colors.
Color guard, right face. Forward, march.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. All persons having no further business before the Honorable Barbara J. Rouse, Chief Justice, the Justices of the Superior Court, and Judge Richard J. Chin, now sitting at Plymouth, within and for the Commonwealth, at present depart. The sitting of this court for the purpose of naturalization now stands adjourned. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Thank you for coming. Can everyone grab a seat so we can get started? Effective. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Marshall Johnson. I'm president of the Plymouth District Bar Association. It's my pleasure to welcome Barbara Nason, the president of the Plymouth County Bar Association. Together we are going to welcome the welcomers and introduce the introducers. So with any luck, our roles will be very limited today. I know there'll be some people who will be glad to hear that. Without further ado, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Barbara Nason so we can get our proceedings underway. Thank you, Barbara.
Thanks, Marshall. I'm not used to these things. First, before we move forward with all of our reception agenda and our formal introductions of all of our dignitaries here this evening, I just want to start with, welcoming everybody to our annual Law Day celebration, and also, most importantly, the 150th anniversary of the Plymouth Superior Court, or the Sequicentennial, I believe it's called. So I want to welcome everybody here, and I first want to start with, a lot of you were not here earlier today. Some of you have been here all day with us, and some of you came later, but I just want to thank everybody that was here all day from 8 o'clock in the morning until now. We had a really, really great day. We had some great events. We had a committee, which we kind of called informally the 150th committee, and we've been working for months on putting this whole day together for this celebration, and everyone really put a lot of hard work and time into it, and I just want to thank everyone for all of their hard work. And just so I can tell you, just let me briefly tell you what was going on today. One of the things that we started off with today was an introductory. We had a lot of kids that came in from the Pembroke schools, Plymouth North, Marshfield High Schools. A whole bunch of kids came in, and we started upstairs at the Superior Court. We had Judge Rufo start with some opening remarks. He did a fabulous job, and he tied in the Lincoln issue for Law Day. But in addition to Judge Rufo did a great job. Irvin Russell did the Gettysburg Address. Judge Troy made some comments. It was really, really great for the kids. After that, all the kids were kind of dispersed between a mock trial, which was put on, and he was the judge today. Marshall Johnson was the judge for that mock trial. It was really a lot of fun. And on top of that, there was also a movie that the kids were watching as well that was put together by Donna Reardon, Pat Downey, and Sue Sashowitz. And they all did such a great job with it. The kids had a lot of fun. Lastly, there was a naturalization ceremony this afternoon, which we traditionally do at Law Day, and it was really, it's the first time I've ever attended one of these events, and it was just a great event. It's really, really a moving event. And I really want to thank Margaret Ishihara for, really emceeing the event and putting the whole thing together and doing all the paperwork that went along with that. In addition, Judge Chin, Chief Justice Rouse, they were also in charge of that. They did a great job. There was District Attorney Tim Cruz was here, Jack Reardon, and also from Christo's, Chris Saganis, if I say that, I'm not sure if I said that correctly, but he was great. So, and on top of that, the court officers here today were fantastic. They really helped everything move smoothly, so thank you, all of you, all the court officers here today, all the court personnel that helped with all of the, everything just went really smoothly. So thank you for that. And I'm sure I'm probably forgetting someone here today and thanking them. So I apologize in advance if I inadvertently forgot to thank somebody. But that's why we have Marshall, because he's going to come back and tell you and thank everybody that I forgot. So welcome everyone and thank you.
Before we get to the actual formal remarks with Regional Administrative Judge Jeffrey Locke, I'd also like to add my thanks to all the folks that worked so hard for so long on this event, as well as some of the little people. They're not so little, but they're very important. Sheriff Joe McDonald, I think, is here. His crew helped immensely in getting the artifacts that you see here over from the old courthouse and the museum courthouse. Nancy O'Rourke on the Plymouth County Commissioners was invaluable in letting us take some of the stuff, as well as Bob Babelock, who is the curator of the 1750 Courthouse Museum. Many of his artifacts are here as well, and so many other people that have put a lot of work into this event. It's very gratifying to see it all come together like this. There are a number of dignitaries, and we'll attempt as best we can to address and recognize them as the proceedings move on. But as I said, I try to keep my remarks brief, so without further ado, I'd like to take the opportunity to address Judge Jeffrey Locke.
Good afternoon, all. And to you. It is my honor and privilege to make an introduction of our Chief Justice. I do it on behalf of my colleagues, Justice Richard Chin, Justice Paul Troy, Justice Bob Rufo, all of whom are now sitting here in Plymouth County. I've just so admired this building today as I did during its dedication. I come from the somewhat more historic and slightly more dirty halls of the Brockton Superior Court. It doesn't have the majesty and openness of this building, but it does have great tradition and a tremendous crew of public servants working there. As I've admired this building, Justice Rufo, who has made this his home, has shown me the door a number of times, suggesting I go back to Brockton so that he may remain here in Plymouth. Now, as I indicated, it is my function and indeed my honor to introduce our Chief Justice, Barbara J. Rouse. Chief Justice Rouse was inducted into the Superior Court on April 19 of 1985. That means she celebrated her 24th anniversary as a Justice of the Superior Court just 3 weeks ago. For her first 19 years, Judge Rouse served as a trial judge throughout the Commonwealth and served as a regional administrative justice for civil business in Suffolk County, and indeed was instrumental in the creation and implementation of civil time standards. Since 2004, she has served as Chief Justice of the Superior Court. She is the 18th Chief Justice and the second female Chief Justice, following Plymouth County's own former Justice Suzanne Del Vecchio. Now, there are 82 Associate Justices of the Superior Court, and the Chief Justice is, much like the foreperson of a jury, the first among equals. The position requires that the chief consult with his or her colleagues and speak on behalf of the justices in matters affecting the court and court business. But more than that, the Chief Justice is also tasked with overseeing and managing the resources of the Superior Court, determining how to allocate those resources across the courts in the counties of the Commonwealth to give attention to the nearly 30,000 civil cases and over 5,000 criminal cases pending at any given point in time. It is a daunting task under the best of circumstances and a nearly impossible one when, as now, the resources available to perform court business becomes so severely strained. Chief Justice Rouse has demonstrated a determined and tireless commitment to improve the delivery of justice in the Superior Court. She has earned the respect and the support of her colleagues for her energy, her enthusiasm, and imagination, as well as her steadfast loyalty to the court and its justices. Indeed, these 150th anniversary celebrations and similar events across the Commonwealth, recognizing the Superior Court as one of the oldest and finest common law courts in the country, are the product of Chief Justice Rouse's direction and reflect her love for this institution. Over 24 years, as an associate and now as Chief Justice, Barbara Rouse has been motivated by the simplest of beliefs, that we, and I include in that pronoun the bench and bar, have a duty and an obligation to ensure that any citizen with a dispute under law be given the full opportunity to have that dispute fairly heard and fairly decided under the rule of law. I am pleased and I am honored to present Barbara J. Rouse, the 18th Chief Justice of this court.
Thank you very much, Jeff. You've made me blush. We are very fortunate in Plymouth County and on the court to have Judge Locke as the administrative justice for Plymouth County. He has really done miracles in many ways, some of which you don't know about, and I will share with you in a moment. But together with the court staff and other judges who serve here, particularly when I mention Dave Biggs, who's worked very closely with Judge Locke, they have implemented case management procedures which have really resulted in much improved our ability to process cases both timely and efficiently. What you don't know, most of you, about Judge Locke is that he is a man of many talents, and as he made reference to this grand building in comparison to the older and somewhat down at the heels building in Brockton, he has undertaken to give the courthouse in Brockton some feng shui by taking home at nights and weekends furniture to refinish. He has painted some of the jury rooms. He has scrubbed. He basically acts as both the maintenance person for the building as well as its refurbisher. So I want to thank him personally, not only for his leadership skills as a regional administrative justice, but also as a great carpenter and painter, and as someone who is dedicated to bringing that building back to somewhat of its youthful vigor. I'm very pleased to be here today. Coming to Plymouth is like coming back to where it all began. When we started planning our 150th anniversary some time ago, we decided we needed a logo. We chose one, the Rule of Law, and we want to express our appreciation today to Julie Vale from your committee, who designed such a beautiful logo. It's being used on court houses throughout the Commonwealth. Everyone will have a framed logo within the next several weeks. But I think it's fitting that our logo, the Rule of Law, really began here in Plymouth as part of the Plymouth colony. The right to a jury trial in Massachusetts was established throughout the Commonwealth in 1780 in our state constitution. But it really began here in Plymouth in 1623 when the Plymouth colony adopted at a town meeting, and a town meeting was another institution that the Pilgrims brought over from England. At a town meeting, they enacted laws providing for a right to jury trial in civil and criminal actions, requiring the citizens of the colony to participate as jurors. And they had brought this from their homeland in England. And nearly 4 centuries later, we have and still carry out the guarantee that all grievances. Anyone with a grievance under law can come, have their dispute decided fairly, and that has been a part of the fabric of this county far, far longer than it has throughout the Commonwealth. And the citizens of Plymouth really have responded very well to the call to participate in the delivery of justice. Here in this magnificent court building and in the 5 sessions of the Superior Court in Brockton. By the way, I'm really pleased to see, I think these council tables were brought in from the old courthouse, so it's wonderful to have a reminder of that grand building too, and we hope that somehow will get preserved in some way. But in the last 2 years alone, nearly 20,000 citizens have come to our courthouses, reported for jury duty, and most without complaint or criticism. And I think it's a tribute to all citizens that come, give their time, their energy, and their honest judgment to resolve disputes under the established principles of law. When we started thinking about how we would celebrate our 150th anniversary a couple years ago, we thought very carefully about what it is that we wanted to do. And one thing we did not want to do was have an inward-looking celebration. We decided that our primary objective should be to raise the public's awareness and understanding about the work that we do. In many ways, we're the least well understood branch of government. And we therefore made educational outreach the linchpin of our efforts. And a second objective really was to leave a little history behind. So when these committees were formed in every county, as they were here in Plymouth, composed of judges, attorneys, educators, historians, and elected officials, each county really planned very diverse activities. It's been a tremendous organic undertaking. And events have ranged the gamut from public access TV programs to programs as you did today here with school children, forums or symposiums on notable cases in public venues such as libraries. And we are planning to put in jury rooms assembly rooms across the Commonwealth, exhibits, because we decided we had captive audiences here. We had people who sometimes had hours on their hands, and we wanted to use that as an opportunity to reach out and to give them something to do and something to learn about. So we're also planning those exhibits. The first major one will be opened up in Suffolk, and then we hope to bring parts of those exhibits to every courthouse. Last Friday, under Judge Rufo's leadership, he's been very active. He's now a veteran of these 150th celebrations. I was in Barnstable celebrating with them, and it was a magnificent event. And that was only one small part of the celebration. A couple of weeks before that, over 2,000 secondary school children in Barnstable County over a 3-day period watched their fellow students put on some criminal and civil vignettes, and then there was a discussion about those and some of the principles of law and issues that arose in them. So this outreach has just been tremendous. We've been very fortunate in Plymouth County to have a great committee, as Barbara Nason said, led by Judges Richard Chin and Paul Troy, very dedicated, committed chairs, not to mention very able trial judges. And with the support of the bar, and it has been really a very interesting development, because when we went back to look at what happened at the 100th anniversary, we found in particular what happened here in Plymouth County and Worcester County. So the bar associations have been very active in helping the Superior Court celebrate its anniversaries along the way. But in addition to Barbara Nason and to past President David Verzovich, who's been also extremely helpful, and Kristen Young, we've had, and great appreciation goes to Marshall Johnson, who wrote this wonderful brochure that I hope some of you have seen about the Superior Court. And inside there's a wonderful timeline, significant cases and other key developments in the life of the court. So please take one with you as you go, and we hope to give them out as people come into the courthouse to share with them what the Superior Court is all about. So our warm appreciation that it's a real permanent contribution to our history. As you've heard about today, the school programs were terrific, and there's going to be ongoing showings of that, the video, which both Mark Lynn and Eric Dresser from Brockton Community Access TV, when they thank them for helping to film and edit the high school film, and all the people who contributed to that. I thought it was very, very appropriate today that you had a naturalization ceremony because it is an opportunity for us not only to remember where most of our roots are and how this country was built, but I think it's particularly appropriate that here in Plymouth, within a stone's throw of the first colony in Massachusetts, we welcome the newest pilgrims who have come to these shores in pursuit of their dreams. And thank you all to those who contributed to making that such a great success today. And to all of you who, on a daily basis, really give meaning to the word delivery of justice. Now, Plymouth County has led the way not only with respect to jury trials and town meetings, but it is also distinguished in in many ways, and one in particular I want to mention, and that is that it has produced 3 Chief Justices of the Superior Court. The first was a man by the name of Albert Mason, who served from 1890 to 1905. Our very own Robert L. Stedman, who served from 1988 to 1993, and Suzanne Del Vecchio, as Judge Locke mentioned, the first woman Chief Justice, who served from 1999 to 2004. Every judge, I think, on the Superior Court has one particular Chief Justice that they refer to as their chief. Mine is Chief Justice Stedman. I first met him over 30 years ago when he chaired a committee at the Boston Bar Association, and I and my fellow partner by the name of Margaret Marshall went to a meeting at the Boston Bar Association. We were very relatively new lawyers, relatively young, and we were making our debut with respect to participation in bar associations. And Judge Stedman, then an attorney, was the chair. He was extremely warm and welcoming and got us involved in the BBA. And it was a great send-off for us and a great introduction to the collegiality of the bar. Judge Stedman was instrumental in shaping my development as a judge, and he instilled in me the importance of both timely and expeditious justice. He was a very early proponent of time standards, years before anybody ever heard the term, and he got me involved in that, and to which I became a dedicated proponent, probably much to some people's chagrin. He was my role model, still is my role model. I aspired, and judging, I think, is an occupation of constant aspirations. But I aspired to be as fair and patient and knowledgeable about the law as he was. I fell short, but the aspirations are still going on. I'm very glad he's with us today to help us celebrate Law Day, the good work of all the trial courts, the judges, the court personnel, the district court, the probate court, the housing court, juvenile court, and land court, and to help us commemorate the Superior Court's 150 years of service to the public, and to our courts and all courts' adherence to the rule of law. Thank you very much for making this day special, and thank all of you for helping join me in honoring him. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief Justice Rouse. At this time, I would like to call upon Francis J. Lynch, or as most of us know, Jay Lynch. Jay, are you around here somewhere? There you are. And I'd like to call him to make some comments and introduce Judge Stedman. Be nice, Jay.
Thank you, Barbara. I had a phone call from Judge Chin asking me if I would come down today, and I'm happy to do it. And he didn't ask me to introduce Judge Stedman in the traditional way that's been done so many times in the past. He just asked me if I would talk about what it was like to work with Judge Stedman as a trial lawyer as he worked in Brockton and other jurisdictions. Unfortunately, Judge Rouse, if I had a pencil, I could have checked off most of what you said about him on my list, but I'm going to go forward with it anyway. And as the court is now doing for jurors with their written charges, I'm going to give Judge Stedman a copy of what I have to say about him today when I'm through. Bob Stedman was a great trial judge. He has the bearing, the presence, the knowledge, and the wisdom to manage the conflicts of others to a just resolution. He was an outstanding trial lawyer, an educator, a mentor, and the true leader of a generation of trial lawyers. As a trial lawyer, he didn't limit his practice, as many of us do. He tried civil and criminal cases, moving from one side to the other of both areas of practice with great ease and bringing the best of the criminal side to the civil side and the best of the civil side to the criminal side. He came to Plymouth County as a seasoned trial judge with an assignment. There was a horrible backlog of cases and this new time standards program which was going to be implemented here, and if successful, it was going to become a statewide program. Discovery in civil cases was for the first time to have temporal limitations. We were going to have time limitations on discovery, and trial dates were actually provided for the first time when the case was assigned or when it came into the clerk's office. It was an ambitious and innovative program, and to speak candidly to the folks here, it did not have the full support, I don't think, of the clerk's office in the Plymouth Superior Court or anywhere else. It certainly did not have the full support of the trial bar. Between us, I'm not certain if it had Judge Stedman's full support, but I think that it did. In any event, he went on and he changed for us the way we had done things for literally years and years and years, and brought a whole new area and a whole new specialty of practice, if you will, and that was learning how to survive in the area of time standards, and he did a great job of it. He brought a sense of humor and a quiet dignity to the courtroom, treated all lawyers respectfully and fairly, even those lawyers who had thoroughly demonstrated to him that they didn't deserve his fairness. He gave it to them anyway. He was loved by the courthouse staff, he was punctual, and he was respectful to every person in his courtroom. He taught us as trial lawyers from the bench. An objection by counsel during a trial would prompt further inquiry at the sidebar, which often resulted in a brief tutorial from Judge Stedman on a particular evidentiary issue. The lesson was never delivered in a condescending or an abrupt manner. Judge Stedman was always inquisitive. He actually acted like he didn't know the answer to the question, although he knew it from the very beginning. He used his great skills at cross-examination at the sidebar. He'd state his views, cite a few cases, make an analogy or two, ask a few questions, and whatever issue it was that brought you there was resolved. It was wonderful for Judge Stedman. It was horrible for the trial lawyer. The problem was this. One would go to the sidebar to disagree with a ruling and preserve an issue for the appeals court. On that long walk back to counsel table after the sidebar conference with Judge Stedman, one would realize that once again, Judge Stedman had coerced you into agreeing that his ruling was right, your point was wrong, and you had actually thanked him for correcting you, and all of this was done on the record. He made it a point never, ever to be surprised in his courtroom. He spent considerable time before the trial conferencing the cases with the lawyers. He knew which evidentiary issues would arise, often before the lawyers did, and when the issue did arise, again, he would meet you at the sidebar or during the recess with the statute or the relevant case law in hand, and he would read from it with the authority that only Judge Stedman had. Then he'd propose a few case-specific questions to you, and then what we, and I think this might be Kevin Reddington's term, would engage in the great Stedman algorithm exercise. That's what we called it. And it always started like this. Surely, counsel. That's how it would start. When Judge Bob Stedman used the word surely, you knew you were in for an education. Surely, counsel, we can agree on this point. And if we agree on this one, then the second one must surely follow. But if it doesn't, then this is the result. And if it does, we can move on to something else. And it would keep going until that point that you were trying to preserve or make appeared absolutely insignificant, and you were truly sorry that you had wasted Judge Stedman's time by bringing the whole thing up in the first place. I learned after a few years, maybe 5 years or so, of this, that the only way to keep an issue alive for the appeals court was to just nod when Judge Stedman talked to you in the courtroom. I would never speak to him. When he said, surely you will agree, I would nod in the affirmative, hoping that the stenographer did not put down in the record, counsel nodded affirmatively, and hoping that just my silence was recorded. His charge to the jury at the end of a trial was truly inspirational. It was concise and it was delivered with passion. The jurors thought they were getting inside information on the workings of law that had never, ever been previously shared with non-lawyers. He delivered the charge with great authority, often didn't use notes for the most part, and he watched the jurors carefully as he charged them and would stop and explain in greater detail what he was talking about if he saw a lawyer who looked particularly confused or if they didn't understand what was going on. The jurors, and this is true, were literally on the edge of their chairs for the entire charge. It was a wonderful thing to watch. There was, back when Judge Stedman was in Plymouth County, a process in the Superior Court that allowed lawyers to request special assignments from judges for cases that would be difficult to try. The lawyers could petition the Chief Justice and request an assignment for a particular judge to see a case through from the beginning to the end. Of course, Judge Stedman was the judge who was requested for all of those special assignments. It was not at all unusual to see a group of lawyers sitting in the back of the courtroom in Brockton at the end of a very long and busy day waiting to see Judge Stedman for one of his status conferences on those special assignments, and as always, he had more than enough time for them. He was also one of the most popular lecturers and instructors at MCLE. Each summer, MCLE ran a week-long trial advocacy workshop which taught lawyers how to try cases. There were several sessions, all chaired by Superior Court judges. The large firms, the small firms, the DA's office, the Department of Revenue, the Attorney General's office, CPCS, and others all sent their lawyers to this excellent trial program. And every single one of them requested that their lawyers be sent to Judge Stedman's session, despite the fact that there were 5 other sessions being run at the same time. His partnership in this trial advocacy program with Judge Moriarty was one of the great partnerships of all time, and I know for a fact it was the most popular course MCLE ever offered. In the classroom, Judge Stedman always made it a point to incorporate a heartfelt lecture about the need for civility in the practice of law. He did it every single time, and that tradition is still honored by those of us who teach that course today. He is an inspiring example of public service at its best, who, in my judgment, has done more to promote the art of lawyering, the teaching of trial practice, and the tolerant and wise administration of justice than anyone else I know. Judge?
Now I assume that all of you want me to sound eloquent. I never have been eloquent, but I enjoy being told that I've been eloquent. I've enjoyed both practice of law, and I enjoyed my term on the judiciary. My life has been blessed in many ways, more specifically by marrying the right woman over there, who has magnificently been able to cope with me for over, what, 55 years or 54 years. You know, I remember well, Barbara, the Boston Bar Association meeting, the litigation section that I chaired at that time, and two lovely young lady attorney came in to the meeting late, but were welcome, introduced themselves to the committee. It was a rather large committee, and one was Chief Justice Rouse, and the other was another Chief Justice, and you'll never guess who that was. Chief Justice Marshall. They were two close friends from the same law firm, and they came over together to be active in the Boston Bar Association litigation section. And we developed a close kinship for one another that lasted over these many years. I remember Jay Lynch very well. He's tried many cases in front of me, more often than not successfully. And it's not a payback, but I thought you'd be unkind, but here you are, very, very kind and tolerant of the way I behaved on the bench while you were trying cases. But you, of course, well, everybody knows you're an outstanding trial attorney. And by outstanding, I mean honest, direct, sincere, knowledgeable, and ever able to persuade people, no matter who they are, of his own persuasion. He's good at it. It all started, as you all know, here in Plymouth County. There are other counties, obviously, but you can go back to, 1622? And you know, if you read history, it was only about a year after our forefathers came here that they started to open a court. So the court system has its history beginning here in Plymouth County, which makes the Plymouth County, regardless of dates, the oldest bar association in the country. And time and time again, they've proved to me that they're one of the most intellectual counties in the jurisdiction of our great state of Massachusetts. It's very difficult to know what to say. Now, I've tried a lot of cases. I've argued all kinds of cases, the good, the bad, the indifferent. And I enjoyed arguing cases before the jury. But I don't think that I've ever felt as pressured as I am today. After all the nice things that have been said about me, I don't know how to approach this group, except to appreciate all that you've said and all that you've done. Now, you've heard a lot of my successes, and let me, just for a moment, tell you about a case I tried where I wasn't that successful, and no one said good things about me, except even the newspapers had unkind things to say about me. That goes way back. It was probably one of the first major pieces of litigation on the criminal side of the court that I had ever tried. Any of you at all remember many years ago about, let's see if I can think of the name of the case. My memory is not as good as it used to be. Well, it will come back to me. But I tried a very serious case. The caption was Commonwealth versus Gushiora and a number of other defendants. It was a Brinks holdup case. Many of you have perhaps read stories about it. There have been books written about it. And I had the pleasure of being one of the defense lawyers in the infamous Brinks holdup case, the trial of the century. Now, the Brinks holdup took place in 1952, the year I got out of law school and passed the bar. The people who were involved in the robbery were arrested in 1955. I had been at that time a struggling lawyer in Boston for about 4.5 to 5 years. Now, that case was a trial of the century. And Stanley Gusciora his family called me up and said, "Mr. Stedman, will you defend Stanley Gusciora?" And I said, "What has he been accused of?" The Brinks holdup. He was one of the parties in that, they claim. And being a young lawyer and not having much to do anyway, I said, "Yes, I'll take the case." He asked about my expertise, and I said, "Yes, I have that." So, at that time, I started to shiver a little bit, not knowing what I let myself in for. They were uncovered in 1955, as you know, and arrested. And I filed my appearance in the case. And there were 5 or 6 other defense lawyers, all well-named, big names in the defense industry, the top line. And when I went to their first meeting, they were very, very gentle and professional. And they said to me, "Who the hell are you?" I identified myself, and after I identified myself, they still didn't know who I was. Well, the case was tried for a lot of days in Suffolk County. And after the trial came to a conclusion, all of the defendants were found guilty by that jury, except one. Stanley Gusciora was not found guilty. All of the others were. Now, generally, I stop here because right now the story is very rich and nice. Stanley Gusciora died the day before the jury returned a verdict. And accordingly, my client, the only one, was not found guilty. Well, I rode that as long as I could, probably 4 or 5 years. And finally, someone found me out. You know, we have a toast that I frequently give in the Superior Court because of my love and affection for the court. And my love and affection for the people who run the court, like Judge Dorsch, who's an outstanding Chief Justice. And we have been blessed with the quality of people who sit on our judiciary in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So I propose a toast to the Superior Court, the great and historic trial court of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and to the justices of that court, who on a daily basis decide issues of law for the benefit of the citizens of our community. May the Superior Court ever, ever prevail, and God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, as I am sure He will. As you can probably see, I've never been lost for words, but I am just so surprised today at all the nice things that have been said about me. Even my wife hasn't said those nice things about me, and we still love one another. So I thank you so much. I've enjoyed being with you, and hopefully our paths will all cross again sometime in the future. God bless each and every one of you.
Thank you very much. It was wonderful to hear from Chief Justice Stedman and to have all of you here to share today in some remembrances about the greatness of his leadership of the court. There were 2 things that I overlooked in my notes and didn't want to leave without saying. One is that an appreciation to Lori LaHoo, who is our staff person on the committee, who's really been the glue. And the second person I wanted to recognize is actually someone I don't know, but who served as the first woman justice in the district court. Martha Ware, 92 years of age, is with us.
Thank you, Judge. That concludes the formal part of the presentation. Everyone is invited to partake of the refreshments and network, as they say, schmooze, as they might also say. Thank you very much for joining us.
I just wanted to add real quickly, thank you, Marshall, and actually Sheriff McDonald for getting all of these wonderful things from the old courthouses, and everyone did a lot of work in getting these over here. I want to also thank Dave Reservitz. He did he put a lot of this together. So, and everybody on our committee, thank you very much. Enjoy. Thanks.